like to welcome Nigel Schofield, who's the Director of Cheshire and Warrington Local Enterprise Partnership and Group Commercial Director for Cresta World Travel. He's active in a number of organisations committed to supporting strong economic development in the northwest of England. Nigel has held a number of marketing and corporate planning roles, including Marketing Director of Manchester Airport, Vice President of British Aerospace Commercial Aircraft, and since 1992 he's run an independent travel company, Cresta World Travel. He's going to give us his regional perspective on the debate, one which considers the wider national significance and implications of British business of runway capacity expansion in the southeast of England. Nigel.
Thank you. Good morning. The runway debate impacts all the regions in the UK. Whilst there are clearly specific NIMBY issues in the expansion of airports, from the business and economic growth point of view, connectivity is a national issue. If you're expecting to be entertained by a north against south debate, I'm afraid I'm going to disappoint you. Of course, there are differences of preference and local interest, but the international connectivity is vital to the whole country, and we need to find an effective solution and set about the task of fulfilling that solution as quickly and effectively as possible. Please let me first explain the perspective from which I will make my comments. My prime concerns are British business and the requirements of travellers. My CV shows the basis of my perspective on the issue. From airports to aircraft marketing and business travel management, I've sought the answers to the why questions which can be expected of an economist come marketing man. In my business today, we're in day-to-day contact with thousands of clients, and so we gain an excellent insight into both what induces travel and what deters travel to specific destinations. We're able to form a clear view of how to realise the economic and social benefits of increased air travel whilst minimising many of the adverse consequences. This takes us straight to the question of the regional perspective on airport expansion. Now, much has changed since the 80s when there was a surge in the growth of new intercontinental business routes from regional airports and thriving shuttle services from regional airports to London. Heathrow served well as a primary connecting airport for the world, but was never designed as a hub airport in aviation terms, able to handle concentrated banks of arriving and departing aircraft throughout the day. Expressed perhaps cruelly, if it's the only sensible connection point, it serves the traveller reasonably well. But if the regional traveller has a choice, he's already voted with his feet. Our own data for last year shows that the nation's hub for regional business travellers is now split across 3 continents, with less than 10% of passengers from Manchester choosing Heathrow as their transfer airport. Meanwhile, domestic flight connections to all regional airports have been reduced substantially, including the smaller airports for which they had once provided a vital air link to the world. This state of affairs does not serve the nation well. Let's look at the 2 key factors which drive traveller decisions: cost and the total travelling time for a journey. They're the key factors in business travel planning. But you have to search long and hard to find better connection times at the London airports than you do at many competitor airports. So we see that flight connections in London from the northwest are mainly limited to leisure travellers and business people who are joining a colleague in London for the onward journey. The decision process which drives traveller decisions also drives major business investment decisions. Connectivity is a vital consideration for foreign investors. Direct air connections from the overseas head office to the location of new investments is a crucial factor. Direct connections are also a key requirement for the regionally based exporting organisations and inbound tourism. This business need relates directly to why the propensity to fly is greatest in the southeast and northwest. Businesses which need those good international connections currently locate here because of the proximity to airports with those connections. London needs direct services to keep pace with the demands of business, and the regions also desperately need them. Whilst this might imply competition, there's actually a golden opportunity for cooperation and effective support for the government's efforts to rebalance the economy. As a business centre, London is a success story almost without parallel across the world. Long may it continue to prosper and thrive. Long may it also be protected from the adverse consequences of an overheated economy, congestion, and excessive costs. The aim must be to reap the benefits of good connectivity for London by improved airport facilities, but make sure we don't miss the opportunities in the regions which do now provide 60% of the UK's economic activity. Let's look at my own LEP region as an example. Cheshire and Warrington is flanked by Liverpool and Manchester airports. Far from being a land of wags and cows, typified by industrial decline, its economic performance puts us in the top quartile of LEPs in the country. The strength of the regions is such that we are blessed with very substantial investments by many major multinationals. In modern technologies, the area hosts world-leading organisations, and major business parks and developments are proving to be a great success. But not everything in the regional garden is quite so rosy. Regional demand for business travel is high, but for decades was frustrated by a lack of services due to the system of bilateral air service agreements. Many regions today have an evident demand for air travel to overseas destinations, but the mismatch of an absence of routes combined with spare runway capacity doesn't serve the nation well. The solution has been for air travellers from the regions to bounce through hubs. This does the job after a fashion for current travellers, but it is detrimental to the growth in international trade, economic growth for the regions, and also to congestion in the London area. London has a magnetic appeal to big business, and airlines recognise London as a premium market with healthy business and first-class demand. In contrast, the regions are principally economy and premium economy markets. This makes the prospect of a new route to the regions by an overseas carrier less financially attractive than a new route to London. But in today's world, decisions about the location of business activity are often made with a very tight control on costs. This doesn't relate merely to air travel, but also cost of facilities, recruitment, local transportation, etc., which means that in the absence of good direct connectivity to the UK regions, overseas investors are naturally inclined to look at the economy locations across Europe rather than to the regions or London. Viewed in this context, the UK's connectivity with international market is best judged not purely by connections to London, but to all regions in the UK compared with their global competitors. You can have the top end of financial services, but let's help the rest of international business put the UK regions on their shortlist for future investment and basis for export. It's absolutely vital to the UK as a whole that the London problem is solved. I have no argument with the case for a proper hub airport with the ease and speed of connections necessary to satisfy the requirements for feed to the smaller airports in the UK. The sooner the better. But in the process, please remember that the London airport problem is a result of a larger national connectivity problem. While the plans are put into effect for a true international hub at the selected location in the southeast, what can be done to ease the problem for London now and bring the benefits of improved international connectivity to the nation as a whole? Well, as obvious as the answer may appear to the regional lobby, more international routes to the regional airports, we have to recognise the realities of airline economics and take effective measures to reduce the scale of the London problem to make life more bearable for Londoners. In the 80s, at Manchester Airport, I found it easy, with the active support of the local business community, the Chambers of Commerce and growth-oriented airlines, to identify the demand for new routes into Manchester, which led to government changes in the bilateral air service agreements and the introduction of new services. Business can still be expected to play a very active role, but we also need the support of UKTI and others on upward investment opportunities for the regions. Businesses in the regions are not anti-London. They too want new routes out of London with good connections where national demand can be sensibly concentrated into one viable service. But in general, businesses in the regions would prefer direct flights from a convenient airport to destinations which are only currently served from London, rather than adding additional rotations out of London. Whilst the review is correct in saying that a transfer of flights from London to the regions does not improve UK connectivity in terms of total capacity, it certainly does improve connectivity for the nation as a whole if it frees some capacity at the London airports and provides direct access from regional airports with all the ensuing opportunities this opens up for regional businesses. Referring briefly again to my own area, merely by way of example on regional opportunities, as supply chain economics require ease of transport connectivity for both passengers and goods, through HS2, the massive investment in Atlantic Gateway, and the utilisation of the capacity potential at Manchester and Liverpool airports, we have the prospect of a 21st century solution as a natural successor to the role of the northwest ports in the days of the Industrial Revolution. The regions will welcome with open arms any opportunity to help resolve the London capacity problem while long-term plans are put into action. Ignoring the regional opportunities does great financial damage to the country, the government's ambitions to rebalance the economy, and does harm to London. I asked my local MP for his views on the matter, and unfortunately he can't be with us here today, but he did ask me to pass on this statement to you all. I very much welcome the efforts of the Commission and others to identify a solution which will overcome the congestion problems of the London airports and also make a significant improvement to the international connectivity from the regions, thereby assisting the government in its drive to rebalance the UK economy. Runway capacity is truly a national issue. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Have a seat. Questions? Okay, well, I just want to kick off a couple of questions here. First of all, the UK needs a hub.
Yes.
Does the hub need to be in the UK?
Yes.
Why?
The problem that the regions have, without stressing that too much, is that if you're a US investor thinking of putting a point in Europe, the logic of flying into another country and then coming back just defeats them. And the same would apply if the UK hub is not in the UK.
Okay, next question. Long haul.
Yes.
Do you want to see more long haul from regional airports or simply more connectivity between regional airports and a hub in London?
From the smaller regional airports, you need connectivity to a hub in London.
You don't need it from Manchester, you don't need it from Glasgow.
You want direct long-haul services from those larger airports.
And why are you not getting enough?
It's partly the airline economic situation, and it's, I say there was growth, there was massive growth in the 1980s, and that rather curtailed as we hit the Gulf War and things like that. It needs encouragement from government.
Tell me about capacity though at Manchester. You're only at 50% capacity at the moment.
There's a lot of space there.
So how do you encourage it? I mean, you know, there's so few internal flights apart from anything else. How are you going to encourage, especially with HS2, everything else coming on? You're not going to grow Manchester Airport without a kind of fiscal stimulus or something, are you? Well, fiscal stimulus is obviously a very helpful, and the example of Belfast, where APD was reduced, is a classic example of how just what a massive impact that change can make. Continental came from that, now United. That sort of issue, you know, you're not, compared to the cost of building what we're going to do for the long term, I hope, in London, right? The cost of providing that financial stimulus in the regions for relieving some of the short-term pressures in London is very, very small. And what's your local MP saying to that? Well, you heard the statement. Yeah. Any questions? Any more questions before I finish? Yes, where I can see a hand up. Where's the hand up? Yes, we'll raise the microphone to you.
Thank you very much. Mike Carrivick. Manchester Airport's a great, successful airport, but fine airlines have the choice of where they place their aeroplanes from their home base into any country. What do you think the impediments are that prevent them going to more UK regional airports?
Well, as long as there's the concentration, one of the key issues, in a sense, is without being unkind about them, is British Airways, right? I think they're big enough to take care of that. They are big enough to take care of themselves, and therefore I'm sure they'll forgive me for saying this, but there's a natural tendency for airlines to kind of say, where does the national carrier fly from? That's the destination I should be flying into. That's one of the sort of underwriting principles of route development for airlines. So that's an issue. There is also this issue of, you know, the revenue streams are not as strong, we have to face it, from the regions as they are from London. Thank you very much, and thank you very much for taking part this morning.